Eagles Entertainment.
Welcome, Eagles everywhere, to the Eagles Insider Podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. I'm Insider Dave Spadaro at the NovaCare Complex as the Eagles get ready for the prime time on Sunday night. A trip out to the West Coast against the defending NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. This will not be easy. Now, the 49ers have had a bunch of injuries. Jimmy Garoppolo, a quarterback, missing last week's game, questionable for Sunday. Raheem Mostert, same, the running back, who actually was an Eagle back in the day. Along the defensive line, the Niners will be without Nick Bosa, their emerging star at defensive end. Defensive tackle Solomon Thomas also out. And a bunch of bumps and bruises along the way, but the Niners didn't let that bother them over the weekend. They pounded the New York Giants 36-9, and they are a contender in the NFC once again. We will talk about it a little later on here when we get into that whole thing about it. I mean, we're kind of figuring out, like, hey, how good is this team? Can they possibly be a team to beat? We'll talk about that with Tim Ryan, the 49ers color analyst for their radio broadcasts. We're also going to meet with wide receiver Greg Ward, who's had a pretty nice season here. 14 catches, a touchdown, had a big one on Sunday against Cincinnati. We're going to talk about what's happening in the locker room as the Eagles look for their first victory of this 2020 season. So let's begin with the head coach, Doug Pederson. We go one-on-one with him every week. He's been getting just tons of negative from the media and the fans. Everybody's upset. We get it. Nobody's happy here, trust me. Nobody expected to be 0-2-1. So when I had a chance to talk to Doug, I wanted to take a different approach. That's my thing this week. I'm trying to be positive, optimistic. Why be negative? Let's bring out the optimist. That's the theme here, one-on-one with head coach Doug Pederson. We welcome you to our weekly one-on-one with head coach Doug Pederson, presented by Wawa. I'm Insider Dave Spadaro. And Coach, I have an idea. I want to go full-on optimism. You going to be with me on this one?
Let's go.
Let's go. Okay.
Let's go.
Let's start. What is working with the offense? What do you like with what you've seen in the offense moving forward?
I think we've caught some traction with our run game. I think that's something the last 2 weeks we've kind of put our hat on and excelled in. I like the fact too that we've gone a little more up tempo. With our offense, it's provided points in the first quarter. More so of the field goal nature. We'd love to score the touchdowns, obviously, and that's something we got to focus on. And then just, I think too, especially early in football games, getting Carson out of the pocket, allowing him to see the field a little bit differently, has had a little bit of success on the defense and is putting pressure on the defenses that way too. So those couple of things right now in the first couple of games have really kind of sparked us and kept us in these games.
Why does up-tempo work, and when have you kind of called it in your coaching history? When is it a feel that you have?
There's really two things. One, it's sometimes you start the game, up-tempo. You want to go ahead and put pressure, kind of shock the defense by starting a game that way. And then the second reason is maybe your offense is in a little bit of a lull, and you need to spark your own offense, and it's a way to kind of get the offense sort of jump-started during a game. So it's a little bit of both. It's feel sometimes because your offense maybe is looking for a spark, and then the other way is you're trying to shock the defense right out of the gate and go up-tempo, to start.
You feel you have the versatility with some players to maybe change things up here moving forward, changing up the approach? You kind of mentioned that early in the week to the media.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we're going to take a look at. We got to, with the number of injuries that we have on offense, we're going to have to be creative with the guys we have, right? And look at everybody, and even our practice squad players that we might have to elevate, as these next in the coming weeks, and so we're going to take a look at that as a staff. I know you only have a couple of weeks or a couple of days until you're back on the practice field, but we got to do it in a rapid manner, so that we have the best possible personnel, available for our upcoming week.
Doug, Miles Sanders, running back, year 2. Tell me what kind of development progress you've seen from him.
I've seen great progress. I've seen a guy that's running with great vision. He's running hard. He runs behind his shoulder pads, as we say. His pass protection has gotten extremely better. in 2 years. He's still, a dynamic pass catcher out of the backfield, route runner is some of the things that we're going to continue to explore with him. But I really like where he's at, going into year 2.
I know the story of Greg Ward is the former college quarterback turned wide receiver in the NFL. I don't even want to talk about him as a former quarterback. He looks like he is so comfortable in that wide receiver position, mostly from the slot. He really seems to have come a long, long way.
He has, and he's really, obviously, changing positions like you mentioned from quarterback to receiver. He's got such a great head on his shoulders. He understands defense. He understands, leverage, zone man. He knows his own strengths and weaknesses, and he uses that, to get open. I think he and Carson are beginning to really kind of be on the same page a little bit more. And so we got to find, again, he's one of those players that we got to find ways to get the ball to now here in the next couple of weeks.
On Sunday, John Hightower, his most action in the NFL, certainly much improved from week 1 against Washington. Did you see the same thing? I
do see the same thing. He is taking steps forward, which is good. He's another one who's got great speed, quickness, elusiveness. We were able to, put him in positions to not only he drew a couple of, interference calls, in the game, Sunday that helped us go down and score that game-tying touchdown. But he is getting better, and he's a young player that we're excited about, and we got to continue to coach him and get him to really embrace now, his opportunity in the NFL.
Doug, I know Carson has made some mistakes. He's got some throws he'd like to have back, but boy, I thought he played so hard on Sunday against Cincinnati. And I really feel like that's what he's going to be bringing to the table every week, that he's not going to let this external stuff bother him.
Yeah, he brings so much energy every week, and he played with a great mental and physical toughness, I think, on Sunday that really sort of kind of oozed out to the rest of the offense and probably to the rest of the team. The way he battled and hung in there, brought the team back, scored the game tying, touchdown there at the end. And, you're right. There are some plays he would like to have back. And these are things that we're going to continue to coach. We're going to continue to coach all the players the same. We're going to coach them hard. We're going to coach them aggressive so that moving forward, we make those plays. And it's still a long season. We're only 3 games in, 13 to go, and we're not far out of first place even in our division right now. So there's a positive as well.
There we go. That is the theme here. We're going to be positive. And Doug, the D-line, the sacks come in bunches. They came in bunches on Sunday. Maybe this is the start of something big for a defensive line that we all think is going to be very, very good. Yeah, it's a talented D-line, and it was good to get Fletcher out there during the week. We didn't know if he was going to be available, and came out and he played well. Hargrave getting his second game and getting his legs, going a little bit. I thought Josh Sweat coming off the edge, BG, even Derek Barnett. I mean, really put some pressure on Burrow a little bit in the pocket and really did a nice job. And it really, when you can do that and put pressure with 4 guys, we also pressured a little bit from the safety and nickel spots a little bit, which also added some pressure in there. It makes it a little more difficult to complete passes down the field. I thought the D-line did a nice job. Doug, we enter the phase of Eagles are in a familiar role as underdogs. Will you play that up this week? Well, I go into every week as we're underdogs, and we always have something to prove. Back's always against the wall. Got to come out swinging each and every week, and we just kind of backed ourselves into a corner a little bit this first 3 games of the season. So. There's no quit. There's there's a lot of fight and energy with this group, which I'm excited about. We get a chance to coach another week, and I'm looking forward to that. What have you seen from the Niners? It's a good team. Obviously, in the Super Bowl last year, they're dealing with some injury issues as well. But we'll see how the week goes. But this is a good team. They do a lot of stuff on offense, the play action pass game, the run game on offense. So we got to be real disciplined there. This is a really good third down defense. They can get after the passer with the pass rush that they have, and so we got to be creative and looking forward to the opportunity. Doug, last one. What is it like for you to go through this stretch? How do you respond internally? Well, you're obviously disappointed, right, in the way the team played, or you didn't come away with the win or whatever it might be, and so. For a few hours, you just kind of,
you're going back through the tape and you're grinding through it and you're cranking on. But then you know what? You finally snap out of it and you're like, we got another opportunity. The sun came up today, get another chance to coach. We got a great opportunity this weekend. We're in the national spotlight. It's a Sunday night football game, and we're excited about that, and going on the road. And we understand we got to coach and play better, and it all starts there, and we'll do that this week.
See that optimism to start the week here. Let's carry it through to Sunday night and beat the Niners. Our weekly one-on-one with head coach Doug Pederson, presented by Wawa. Coach, good luck on Sunday against San Fran.
Thank you, Dave.
It's gotten to the point with Greg Ward where you don't even talk about the backstory. The great college quarterback at the University of Houston, all the times he was released, put on the practice squad, cut, out on the streets, makes the move to wide receiver. That stuff, great story, but it's kind of in the past, right? We now just look at Greg Ward as a good NFL wide receiver. He's been reliable this year. He's been productive this year. And he kind of leads the way for the Eagles wide receivers into prime time on Sunday night, and that is special for Greg Ward Jr. here on the Eagles Insider Podcast. Wide receiver Greg Ward joins the Eagles Insider Podcast here. And G. Ward, let's talk a little bit about something that has nothing to do with football. I've asked 6 guys, who's the funniest player in the locker room? And you get the most votes. You're laid back to the media. You got something up your sleeve, don't you, man?
No, not at all. I just like to keep everybody on their toes.
What is your style of humor? Who's a good comedian to you?
Chris Tucker.
Okay. Chris Tucker. Okay. That's right.
And Martin.
Yeah, because you're like the Chris Tucker guy. I have not seen Chris Tucker since Jackie Chan movies, maybe?
Yeah, it's been a while. I still watch those movies.
Hey, I guess the football side of things. You've been targeted 19 times. You've had 14 catches. That's an excellent percentage. Does that percentage mean something to you?
It really just motivates me to continue to get better. Just continue to be on the same page with Carson. Just continue to work hard in practice, and just stay on the same path, on Sundays.
Let's talk a bit about Carson Wentz. He's going through some struggles. People are criticizing him on the outside. How do you feel about that? How does the team rally around number 11?
Everybody has his back. I don't listen to the outside at all because they really don't matter. They're not here putting in the work with us. They don't see how he works day in and day out. And just like I said, man, he's our quarterback, man. We're always going to have his back. Is
it something, do you generally just tune out the outside? Have you done that your entire
Always
career?
Have.
Since the time you were in high school?
Always have. Good or bad, it doesn't matter. Whenever you're doing good, they're going to pat you on the back. Whenever you're doing bad, they're going to talk bad about you. So I just stay even keel, stay the same, and just continue to play for my teammates.
But you are a social media guy, no?
Not really.
Okay. You're the only one how old are you, 25 years old? You're the only one 25-year-old guy in the world who's not on social media. Congratulations on that. It's not a good place to be.
I have social media. I just don't be on it that much.
What do you search out besides my accounts, the Eagles Insider Podcast and all that? What do you search out on what does social media mean to you, Greg? Hanging out with your friends, like checking out on
Hanging out with your friends, basically, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but whenever I'm on there, I like to watch highlights. Those things are exciting. I actually like to watch all the players around and see how they making plays, and that's very encouraging, And some of the routes from certain receivers, different receivers around, I kind of add that to my game.
How is your route running in terms of just the improvement you've made from, let's say, even a month ago? Do you feel it getting better day by day, week by week?
Day by day, definitely. I just have to continue to stay on it, man. Every single day, I can never get relaxed because once I take my foot off the gas, that's when things get bad.
What is the key to great route running?
Being violent, being patient, and just trusting yourself and trusting your training.
Is it that precise that if you literally step to the left half a yard, that can blow up the entire timing of a route?
Sometimes, yes. Definitely.
Describe what violent means. I'm not sure fans understand what violent means for a wide receiver running a route.
Coming off the ball, pumping your arms, running violent, running like you're running a 100-meter dash.
Okay.
In track.
I understand that now. Let's talk about the touchdown on Sunday against Cincinnati. Take me through the play. Your thoughts, because they had just what they called a timeout just before that, I think. Can you tell me about the feeling that you had? All of a sudden you're wide open and you see nothing but end zone in front of you.
Actually, me and Carson was talking about that on the sideline before we went out there. And he was saying if they did this in his defense, then he was going to throw it to me, and that's exactly what happened. I was able to get an outside release in a cover 2 defense. The safety didn't get off the hash that much, and he was able to find me in the hole.
Your second NFL touchdown, Greg. Did you keep this football?
No, I didn't.
Greg, what is going on with this not keeping the football thing? I don't get it. Aren't you supposed to keep footballs?
I guess, but hopefully I get more. So I gotta get more touchdowns.
That's
so
true.
Yeah.
Let's talk wide receiver group. There's been a lot of injuries. How have you guys held together? Young group. You're kind of one of the veterans here. What kind of advice have you had for some of these younger players?
Just stay hungry. Just let the game come to us, and just make sure we're all on the same page and know what we're doing. There's no loose ends. We're all on the same team, and we all care for each other. So let's play hard for each other. It's
Sunday Night Football on Sunday in San Fran. Before you played in the NFL, were you one of those guys who watched every primetime game?
I didn't watch everyone, but I watched a lot of them.
Okay, and who will be watching? Will you be aware of the big Greg Ward family gathering somewhere, perhaps in Texas or wherever? Will there be a Greg Ward family gathering?
Probably so.
Okay.
Probably so.
Do you feel that when you're out playing?
I do, actually. Yes. I remember the times when I was watching, and I remember the times when I was watching on the sideline, when I was at home and when I was on the sideline. And now that I'm able to play on Sunday nights is just truly a blessing, man. And I'm going to soak it all in and leave it on the field.
Let's do it. Greg Ward, thank you so much for joining me here on the Eagles Insider Podcast. Good luck on Sunday night against the San Francisco 49ers.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Now we take our first look at the San Francisco 49ers, who came so close last year to winning the Super Bowl, and instead they fell, but they're right back in the mix. Good football team despite a lot of injuries. My guest, Tim Ryan, from the 49ers radio broadcast team, former NFL player, first-round draft pick out of USC, Chicago Bear. He knows what he's talking about, and he likes what he's seen from the Niners through 3 weeks. Tim, teams that go to the Super Bowl and lose are supposed to come back and struggle. That doesn't seem to be the case with San Francisco. All these injuries, and you're still pushing through it. I mean, how would you kind of evaluate that part of it, the mental resilience of this football team?
Yeah, well, that's the best point. And you're right on Super Bowl runner-ups and coming back the next year and having success, and certainly getting back to the big show is only happened a couple of times. So it's a challenge for all the teams that have lost the Super Bowl. But when you look at this team and the mental toughness, and I'm glad you said resiliency, I think that's what they're all about, because their depth has been absolutely challenged already through the first couple weeks of the season. And when you got no off season, and then you start with the Arizona Cardinals and everything that Kyler Murray is, and that style of quarterback really has been, somewhat of the kryptonite for the 49er defense when you go back and look at Russell Wilson and his movement skills and, really the true dual threat quarterback, and Kyler Murray did that. So that was a challenge. But when you look at the resiliency of the injuries that this team endured in week 2 at New York against the Jets, and in particular losing just a superstar and a future real superstar in this league, and Nick Bosa with his ability to rush the corner, and Solomon Thomas, and Dee Ford's been out, and just injuries across the board, and then Jimmy Garoppolo on offense, and Raheem Mostert. I mean, we can just keep going down the list. George Kittle, and then week 3, Jordan Reed. This is a mentally tough football team, and I think it starts at the top. I think it starts at the head coach. In terms of the message that he's providing every day to those players, and then the guys, that pick the personnel, and as I like to call them, Dave, the paid professional observers of talent, and they have gotten guys on this team that are mentally tough. And when you endure those injuries, when you endure a Super Bowl loss, and you're 7 minutes away from a party with the Lombardi, that sticks with you. And then you add the pandemic and something that we're all going through and have gone through. This is the year of the mentally tough. This is the year of the football team, the organization that can really keep their eyes on the prize despite all of these crazy dynamics and real life and death situations for, a lot of the players and their families in terms of what they're going through and away from football. So major challenge, and glad that this team has been able to so far come through with the depth and the mental toughness.
I know it's early in the week. Do you anticipate any of those guys Garoppolo, for example, coming back against the Eagles?
Yeah, not so sure about Jimmy. Those ankle sprains, in particular the high ankle sprain, and I know there's still some conjecture whether it's a high ankle sprain or not. I'm not sure about that. I know how it was first reported, so really up in the air on that one. I think Kittle's got a good chance of coming back, especially now coupled with the Jordan Reed injury, and it looks like he might be out for a little while and getting hurt last week. Up in the air on Raheem Mostert, don't know, and we'll know more as this week goes in terms of the practice regimen. I think Deebo Samuel is going to go, I think, just based on, being on injured reserve for 3 weeks. And I know he wanted to go in the opener, and they did some things in terms of trying to test that foot, and apparently wasn't quite ready to go. So I think he's got a good chance of being able to go. So it's going to be interesting, man, and I'll tell you what, that Philadelphia team, there's a lot of talent on that team, as you know. It's been a very rough season, and as I said a little while ago, that style of play, the moving quarterback and the ability to get away from pass rushers has been a thorn in the defense of this 49er D. So I go back to that matchup a few years ago, and really in the 17 season, and it kind of all changed for the 49ers on that day. I mean, you can almost thank your defense for just absolutely, hammering the quarterback in C.J. Beathard that game. And I know you remember it, and just was getting pelted. And there was a lot of injuries on that field that day. And I remember on the flight home, it was like, I believe it was still 0 for no wins on the docket for the staff. And I was like, oh man, this doesn't feel good. Guys are really felt like it was soul searching on the plane. And then the next day or a day or two later, Jimmy Garoppolo was in the building with the trade. So, that was a defining moment, and you guys were a part of that. Philadelphia was a part of it. And I also remember the defense that day finally started to figure out how to shut down the run and get after the run a little bit. If I remember, you can check the stats on that. But I also remember getting heat on Carson Wentz and him being an unbelievably tough sack, the way that he can bob and weave and dip and get away from it. So I know it's all in there, and when you consider a lot of the depth players that are having to play, and for this San Francisco team, it's hard as hell to win any game in pro football on Sundays. This will be a big challenge.
Give me an overview, if you would, of without Jimmy G, the offense still against the Giants put up 36 points.
Yeah, the run game wasn't great. I'll give you that. This team is always built on the run game and play action and getting that stretch play working. They run that 3-4 defense, hard to get the ball out on the edge. So there were some adjustments and in terms of, how they're going to block it up a little differently, and they got a couple runs going right before the end of the half. But really the game was about, ball control, team football, and Nick Mullins making the right decisions and getting the ball out on time. One thing about Nick, and he didn't play last year, played a couple of years ago, and you know the numbers, first 8 starts. He threw for the fourth most yards of any player in pro football since 1970, the modern era of football. And there's been a lot of good ones delivering the mail, and the 4th most yards in his first 8 starts to start a pro career. So he's certainly talented in terms of being able to go to the right spot. I think his arm has gotten stronger. You could see some illustrations of that on the field against the Giants, and throwing outside the numbers and hanging in the pocket for 3.5-4 seconds and driving a ball down the middle and into the middle of the defense off of his back foot, which was and there was a few examples of that. But he's going to be prepared. He knows the offense as well as anybody, and I would say as well as any quarterback could know this offense. It's his 4th season in it. He's unbelievably prepared in terms of his mind's eye. And I think the good ones, I always think of real good quarterbacks, and you see it when the primaries covered, the secondaries covered. Maybe he gets to his 3rd read, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's running out of time, and then his head whips right back to where his check down's going to be, or where he knows his safety outlet's going to be, and it gets to the guy on time. I think a big part of that is, the good ones to me, in terms of the guys that process it, they see that mental picture in their mind, and I really believe, when things are breaking down and there's 6 rushers trying to rip your head off and get into your ear hole, your mind's eye has got to see the grid. Your mind's eye has to see where your receivers are versus what you may have saw in terms of the rotation of the coverage. And I think Nick has all of that. So when in doubt, he knows where he can go with the football. in terms of getting into a safety outlet. But his patience, his poise, his accuracy, those were all on tap against the Giants.
How does a struggling Eagles offense that's got a ton of injuries attack San Francisco's defense?
Well, I think everybody needs to try to run the ball, and San Francisco, this 49er front, has been pretty damn good at defending running backs. Carson Wentz may have to get his legs dialed back up, and we know his injury history, but Kyler Murray got him good with his legs on some scrambles, and Kyler's going to do that to everybody for Arizona. Darnold got him for a scramble or two. Daniel Jones hit him with a couple of read zones and really kind of caught him with their eyes in the backfield. And those were the biggest plays by the Giants. So I think you got to run the ball, whether it's with your running backs or with the quarterback making timely runs with his legs. And then you got to keep the quarterback clean in terms of the 4-man rush. And if the 4-man rush is working, and hopefully for the 49ers and for the fans it is, it's a challenge because this defense doesn't give up a lot of big plays. They're not going to let you beat them over the top. So then your quarterback's got to be patient. Your receivers, your tight ends, your running backs, they got to break tackles when you feed them under those zones and some of that shell coverage. And the 49ers want to rally up and they want to hit you and they want to be fierce tacklers. So I think it's a mix of everything, but it really starts by being able to do your best to control that front and control that line of scrimmage. And if you can run and get them into the third and shorts, and then you can rely offensively on your short passing game and some scrambles by your quarterback, and of course the screen game and all the rush beater stuff, you'll be in it. And then I think the biggest thing that's a help for opponents' offenses is if your defense can get off the field on third down. If the 49ers can continue to kind of play keep away, move the ball on third down, hit you with plays and wrinkles that you haven't seen before on tape, and get you with some big chunk plays, and more importantly, possess that football, then, your offense is going to be a lot more pressure on them.
Final question for you. Even with all of these injuries, do you still see the Niners as a bona fide Super Bowl contender?
Well, I think a little bit of that has been rubbed off. I don't think you can, lose some of the stars that they've lost already, and then you couple that with DeForest Buckner being out the door, and I think eventually that's going to be the right decision with Javon Kinlaw. Look, it's a great coaching staff. They're unbelievably prepared. If there was ever a time to get significant injuries, especially in this season, because it's so damn unpredictable, you don't know what's going to happen in terms of injuries or the pandemic. Maybe week 2 was the time to get them. So, the division's tough as hell, but I still think they're in it to win it.
Tim, thanks so much.
All right, Dave, be good, buddy. Thank you.
That will do it for this Eagles Insider podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Insider Dave Spadaro here. Thanks to Peter Kelly and Ray Doyle for their work. Thanks to all of you for joining each and every episode. We're back on Friday with our tailgate edition. Oh, do we need a win on Sunday in California? If you have a moment to drop us a little review, the 5 stars always help. There's a link in the details section of your podcast library. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have yourselves a great Eagles day, and fly, Eagles, fly! E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! We want you to know about all the podcasts in the Eagles network of podcasts. So make sure you tune in to not only this Eagles Insider podcast 3 times a week, but make sure you subscribe and listen to the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, our Journey to the Draft podcast Tuesday and Thursday, and our Eagles Update podcasts, which give you the news in a flash, Monday through Saturday throughout this 2020 season. Sign up, subscribe, and listen to our Eagles network of podcasts.